Hello, Ann. Tak masuk ke?
Hari ni hari penuh technical issue.
Ya, betul. On. Okey. Kat YouTube dah ada? Dah. Dah.
Okey.
Okey, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Boleh saya start? Okey,
Boleh.
Boleh start ya. Okey. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. And a very good afternoon everyone. Okay, first and foremost, I would like to thank everyone, especially you boys and girls, who are able to attend this online e-class organized by Digital Classroom Malaysia in collaboration with Microsoft and BSTP. My name is Miss Enzulida binti Muhammad, or Miss N for short. I am an SIC Plus from PPD Pekan, and I am also one of the admin for Digital Classroom Malaysia. Okay, so as we are into our third week of our movement control order, so I'm sure by now you people out there have been online for quite some time. So this is an added bonus for you today because we have in store for us all the specialist teachers in their own right. So today we have a colleague of mine, Mr. Anuar Taha, who is a senior assistant from SMK Juaseh, Kuala Pilah. All right, but before we start the session proper, let us recite the prayer first.
I can't hear it.
Me too.
Cannot hear the
Yeah.
Doa.
tak boleh.
It's okay. Skip kat end. Just continue. Continue kat end.
Continue with the session or the doa?
Yes. Continue with the session.
With the session.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems that we have a slight glitch on our prayer just now. Okay, whatever it is, quite a challenge for us today, the digital classroom admins. So we'll try to improve on that. Okay, right. Now, this is our third day. So we have been looking at the chat room. So all of you boys and girls out there, we have to be responsible digital citizens. So there are a few internet etiquette that we have to follow by now. Okay, so number one is hopefully that we can respect each other. And secondly, mind your language, because in the chat room, we can see quite some negative language being used. So mind your language, boys and girls. And number three is that we hope that the chat in the YouTube would be put to use in order to pose questions to the speaker. Okay, so just a friendly reminder to you people out there. All right, so this is our speaker for today, Mr. Anuar Taha. His qualifications is there, BA in Literature from Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana, USA, Diploma of Education from UIA, International Islamic University, Masters of Education in Curriculum and Instruction from University of Houston, Texas, USA. Also, he has obtained his certificate of training, trainer training, the University of Manchester, England, and also he got the diploma of NPQEL from IAB. Without further ado, let's hear from Mr. Anuar. Over to you, Mr. Anuar.
Thank you very much. Auzubillahiminasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon. Where's my slide?
Okay, share your slide, Mr. Anuar.
Hold on. Okay.
Okay.
So this is who I am right now. I'm the senior assistant for SMK Juaseh since 2018, and I hope you will enjoy my lesson for today. A brief introduction regarding my qualification done by Miss Anne just now. Okay, in terms of work experience, I've worked in 5 schools, rural areas, residential schools for 11 years, and right now my present school is SMK Juaseh. So boys and girls, today our lesson objective. Today I'll be talking on one aspect of the paper, which is directed writing. So hopefully at the end of the session, you'll be able to read and understand the question using facts. This is my acronym for understanding question. And secondly, hopefully at the end of the lesson, you should be able to write an article using the 12-step method that I'm going to present to you. So first of all, what is directed writing? Directed writing basically is a task based on a situation described in detail, either in words or diagram. This is taken from the Cambridge Discussion Guide published in 1998. It says here, students are guided as to what to write and how to set the answer. In short, directed writing means follow instruction. Very important. When it comes to directed writing, follow instruction that appear in the question paper. Okay, next. So I'll be using the SPM 2019 paper. So I hope you have seen this before. But don't worry, it's quite small. I'm going to show you the division of the question. All right. So before we look at the question, step 1 in answering this question is you must know how to read the question. You must know how to read the question. Basically, directed writing tests 2 skills. 1, reading. 2, writing. So the first skill is reading the question. Now, when you read the question, remember the facts. This acronym I've used this acronym since 1997 when it comes to directed writing. So F is for format. So why must you know format? You get between 2 to 3 marks for format. Okay, and then you should know who's your audience. When you know your audience, you know what type of tone to use. Third, content points. You must know how many content points and what they are. T, next, you should know that in every writing, there will be task or task. And at the same time, you should know what tends to be used. And lastly, S is subject matter. So what is your directed writing about. So subject matter will normally answer the question, what? So when you read the question, remember the facts: format, audience, content points, task or tense, and subject matter. Now, your question paper is actually divided into 3 parts. First, what I call the background information. This is the top part of your question. In this section, you will get information regarding the format, your F, your audience, A, the task, and the subject matter. Can you see it? If you can't, I'll show you in a while. Okay. The second part will be the content points. So you should learn to identify the content points. How many there are? Do you see 12? Do you see 13? If you see them, what is C1? What is C2? What is C5? And so on. So last year, we have about 13 content points. I'll talk about the content points in great detail after this. Okay, the third part of the question paper is what we call the reminders. So please read until the end of the question. In the reminder, let's read this together. It says, when writing the article, you must. It's stressed on the word must. That means you must use it. You must follow what is instructed. It says you must use the appropriate format. Provide a title and give your name as the writer. Develop all the points given. Give your own ideas when needed, and so on. So, in the reminder, you get your format marks. How do you know? It's given to you. It says here, provide a title and give your name as the writer. All right. So, remember, part A, the background information will give you F, format, A, audience, T, the task, and S, the subject matter. The second part, the content points, will give you all the points you need to use for your essay. And the last part is the reminder, that what you must do for the format, that you must develop all the points given, and give your own ideas when needed. Okay, next. So what is the format? If you can't get the answer right, something is wrong, because the format word appears many times. So let's see. For 2009 SPM paper, the format is an article. Okay, you will be awarded 2 marks. How do we know? Because it says provide a title and give your name as the writer. So you get 2 marks for format. Who's your audience? Your audience is your schoolmate or are your schoolmates. And what tone to be used when you write to your schoolmates is informal. So the tone for this writing is informal. Okay, now the content points. Okay. Now when you look at the content points, what do you notice? You notice subtopic. So the first subtopic is information about the Go Green Day. Information about the Go Green Day. There are 4 points. And then you see subtopic on topics. 3 topics: protecting animals, learn about plants, dealing with rubbish. And then we have Go Green Day activities, the third subtopic, Go Green Day activities. It also says here, the instruction, give details for each activity. And then you have 4 content points for activities: taught by expert, making a garden, recycling, and you're supposed to give one more activity. And the last subtopic is conclusion. It says here, you must write your best memory of the Go Green Day and why you think students should go to the Go Green Day next year. Okay. After content is FACT, task. So what is the task? Why do you write the article? So it says here, you are writing this article because you want to share opinion. Basically, when you write article, you want to share, so not opinion, information. You want to share information. And there's one instruction which asks you to give your opinion. So for this article, basically you will use the past tense because it is an activity that had happened in the past. But you use present tense when you give your opinion. And S, the subject matter. The subject matter for this article is Go Green Day. It's Go Green Day. All right, I hope you understand how to read the question. Remember the facts: format, audience, content points, task, and tense, and lastly, subject matter. Okay, now next, let's start with the first acronym, which is F, the first letter of the acronym F, understanding format. Basically, these are the format that you must learn for SPM or for Form 5. They are formal letter, informal letter, speech or talk, report, and article. So there are not many. Please do not target question. Okay, it's wrong. You have to learn all. It's just format. It's just format. Now, let me ask you a question. What's the difference between a speech and a talk? There must be a difference, right? Speech is formal, talk is informal. Okay, speech is formal, talk is informal. Now, let's go back to the question for today, which is the article based on the SPM 2009 paper. We know that the format is an article. Okay, and to get marks for article, you need the title and the writer's name. Okay, you need the title and the writer's name. The question says, what does the question say? It says, provide a title and give your name as the writer. So just follow instruction. Okay? The instruction says, provide a title. So there are 3 ways for you to get marks for format or how to write the format. Okay, the first one, Go Green Day. All right, before that, what is a relevant title? Don't crack your head. Don't think too much. It's there already. It's about Go Green Day. So just take from the question paper, Go Green Day. But if you want to add a little bit more, it's up to you. Go Green Day in Johor, Go Green Day in Malaysia, whatever, I don't care. It's okay. So, but what is important, first you provide a title, Go Green Day. And then give your name by Atia Jasmine. So you get both format marks.
Mr. Anwar,
Yes.
can I interrupt you for a while?
Yes, please.
Okay. There's something obstructing the screen. Is it possible for you to move your cursor off the Okay.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
All right. So sorry. Okay. Second, you can also write the title on the first line, Go Green Day, and your name on the second line. For example, Go Green Day by Aslam Darwish. So you still get your F1 and F2. The third way which we see quite a lot students doing this. They write the title on the first line, Go Green Day, and then they write the article, and towards the end, they write something like written by and the person's name. For example, written by Anne Michael. All three ways are acceptable. Okay? Hopefully, you won't forget to write this, because if you don't get marks for format, it's sad. It's so easy. This is so easy. This is not even the essay yet. It's just format. So hopefully you remember this. Write the format first. Get it out of the system. Get it out of the way, and then you think about the essay proper. Okay, next. The second acronym is A, audience. Now, knowing your audience will tell you what tone and style to use. Right? Knowing your audience will tell you what tone and style to use. For example, 2019, your audience are your schoolmates. So the tone to be used will be informal, but don't forget, at the same time, you have to be polite. And at the end of the essay, you are supposed to recommend, or you have to be persuasive. You want to persuade your reader to do or to embrace Go Green Day activities. So you have to use the correct vocabulary and the right tone. Okay, 2018, for example, you're supposed to write to your teacher advisor. Your teacher advisor is considered people of authority. So people of authority like teacher advisor and principal, you're supposed to be formal. The tone used should be formal, but at the same time, don't forget to be polite. We are Asians, we are Malaysians, we are. You read a lot. Why? It helps to build your vocabulary and knowledge about the world. So that's how you suggest to people. And that's also how you persuade people. Okay, I hope you are clear with that. If you are not clear, you can ask me later. All right, next. The next letter is content points. Understanding content points. So let's look at the question again. What do you have to include in your answer, in your response? In other words, what are the content points? And how do you get points for content? Okay, I'll go slow here. Okay, so how do you get marks for content? First, look at the keywords. Look at the keywords. Read the keywords given. And try to understand what type of points they are. Now, these are my understanding of content points. I see there are 4 types of content points. First, are they direct content points? What does it mean by direct content points? Direct content points means you use it straight away. You don't have to think of the answer. You don't have to provide your own idea. That will be direct content point. Okay. Second, task content point. Task content point means you are given a task to perform. You most likely will be given instruction, and you must provide the appropriate response. Okay. Third, own ideas. Own idea basically will come from the same subtopic, but they need you to give one more idea of the same subtopic. For example, they give you 4 activities, but they only give you 3, and then they ask you, please add one more idea of your own. That to me, that's his own idea. And number 4, which we saw this last year, content points with details. Content point with detail. It means if you just use the content point without any further elaboration or detail, you will not get the content point. So basically, to me, now there are 4 types of content points, and they are: 1, direct content point; 2, task content point, 3, own ideas, and 4, content point with details. Let me remind you again, whatever it is, follow instruction. Okay. Now, to start writing for the content point, first, start by thinking of the subject of your sentence. It's just logical because a basic sentence structure start with a subject followed by a predicate, and the predicate start with a verb. Or in simpler terms, when you write a basic sentence, you have subject, verb, object. So it's just natural that before you start writing, start by thinking of the subject of your sentence. Next, think of a relevant verb for your sentence. Now, when you talk about relevant verbs, there are two types of verbs. One, verb without action. For example, am, is, are, was, were. And verb with action. Okay, when we talk about verb with action, we are talking about passive and active verbs. Okay. Once you have your subject and your relevant verb, then you can write out your sentence. Okay. And then see if you need to insert a pronoun, an article, a preposition to make your sentence clear. Okay, I repeat, you need to insert a pronoun, an article, a preposition to make your sentence clear because they are not provided in the content points. You have to provide your own so that your sentence is clearer. Okay, and lastly, after you have written your sentences, read and check whether you have expressed the point or the points clearly. Okay, let's see some example. Now, I'm going to show you 3 examples.
Okay, Mr. Anuar,
Yes.
we have a question from our viewers, one of our viewers. It's from
Alright.
Jonathan Siu. He's asking, what's the difference between direct content points and task content points? Okay.
Okay. Now, from my example, I'll show you both. Right now, this example is what we call task content point. Why is it a task content point? It's just an instruction. It says here for C1, for the first point, you have to answer where it was. So, if you don't provide an appropriate response, you will not get the content point. Okay, so when you look at the keyword, first you ask what type of content point is it. Okay, so we know where it was is a task content point. Second, what is the subject matter of your sentence? Now, if you look at C1, it says here from the question paper under the subtopic of information about the Go Green Day. C1 is under the subtopic of information about the Go Green Day. So what is your subject matter? Your subject matter is actually the event itself or the Go Green Day. All right. And then you ask, what is the relevant verb to be used? Are you going to use active verbs or passive verbs? And then remind yourself, should you write in present or past? So when you look at the keywords given, it says where it was. So you are supposed to write in present. You're supposed to write in past. Where it was, you're supposed to write in past tense. Now, whether you are supposed to use active or passive, then you ask yourself, do you understand what is active sentences? What are passive sentences? And then you ask the fourth question. What is a relevant or appropriate response to get the content point? Where it was. Where means you need to give a place, correct? You need to give a place. So if you put them together, the subject matter is Go Green Day. And then the relevant verb, first it must be in past tense. Is it held or was held? So you have to be very careful. Go Green Day was held, correct. Go Green Day was held, correct. If you say the town of Ipoh held the Go Green Day, then that's so correct. So you have to be very careful. So let's see, look at our example. It says here, the Go Green Day was held at the National Forest Reserve Institution in Melaka. Now, I would like to remind you, when you answer this type of question, make sure you give a specific answer. You say somewhere out there, oh, that's very general. So please, if you say the Go Green Day was held in my area, wow, that's too general. Where is your area? In KL. You say in my residential area, Taman Maju Jaya. So that is more specific. So remember this, when you provide a relevant response, make sure you provide a specific place, or else if you start with a general place, please elaborate and give a specific place. Okay, does that answer your question? Oh, not yet, because you still want to know what's the difference between task content point and direct. Okay, so I repeat, task content point is where the answer is not given to you. You have to provide your own answer. Let's say we have 125 students in a class. I should get 25 different answers, right?
Okay.
Next. Okay. Now, this is an example of direct content point. Okay. How do we know it's direct content point? It's given to you under the subtopic of topics. They give you 3 topics. So this is direct. You just use it. You don't have to think about what to write, but you still have to come up with a sentence to get the content point. So if you ask yourself, what type of content point is it? So this is what we call direct content point. So last year's paper, we have 3 direct content point for the topic. Okay. And then what the subject matter of your sentence? It's quite easy. The subtopic is given. They are topics. There are 3 topics. One topic, protecting animal. Second topic given is what we call learning about plants. And then the third topic, dealing with rubbish. Okay. So the same question you ask, what is the relevant verb? Are you going to use active or passive? Is it going to be present or past? Since we started with past, so this is also should be in the past tense. An example of a sentence will be, one of the main topics discussed during the event was the protection of animals. Or if you are better, you want to have variation, you can say the topic that was touched on that day included methods of protecting animals. So look at the 2 examples. One, use direct, protecting animals. The other, to the protection of animals. As long as the meaning is the same, you will be given, you'll be awarded marks for it.
Okay. Since we are on the topic of active and passive sentence, there's a question from Arif Irfan. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Arif Irfan, he's asking, when do we use the passive and when do we use the active verb?
Okay, if you understand what is active, active means the subject is doing the action. Passive means the subject is receiving the action. So it's up to you. It's just a way to show variety of sentence structure. What do you want to highlight? Do you want to highlight the doer, or do you want to highlight the receiver?
Yeah. So in other words, we're looking at the style of writing, whether you prefer the active or the passive structure.
But remember, have variety of sentence structure. Don't use active all the time. Don't use passive all the time. We would like to see a whole range of sentence structures from students. Okay, next, I'm going to show you another type of content point with details that require details. It says here, give detail of each activity, and the content point is talk by expert. So this is what I have categorized as the 4th type of content point. content point with details. Okay, and then if you do not give detail, you will not get marks. So look at the example. If you just say the first activity was a talk by an expert, no detail, you have not given any idea of from you. There's no idea from you, so you will not get the mark. But even if you give a word as a detail, most likely you will get. For example, the first activity was a talk by a plant expert, just not any expert, but a plant expert. So you will get the content point. Content point, the third content point I did not give you because it's just own idea, right? If you look at the question paper, you will see that content point number 11, C11, it is the same category whereby you are given the point, but you have to give detail. So just say give one more activity. So you cannot just give activity without any detail. For example, if you say another activity on that day is poster drawing competition, so that's it. You will not get the point because it's just another activity. You have to give details. That means whether you like it or not, elaborate, develop your ideas. Develop your ideas. Okay. Any question regarding content points?
Okay, so far.
All right, thank you. Next, step 5, understanding tasks. Okay, step 5 is understanding tasks. So it says here in every piece of writing, there would be a purpose or purposes of writing. You must also decide what tends to be used. So we see that there are many tasks that you can be tested. For example, 2016 to choose and to convince, 2017 to report, give suggestion, 2018 to report, give a recommendation, 2019 to share information and give your opinion, whatever. Okay, so when you understand the task, what you need to learn is, okay, how do you produce sentences that will show that you understand the task. For example, you want to report. How do you report? Reporting is quite simple. Any word that shows reporting is okay. For example, let's take suggestion. If you have 4 suggestions, are you going to say, I suggest, I suggest, I suggest, I suggest 4 times? So here, what you need to do is you have to learn how to write sentences whereby you suggest. So you might want to say, I recommend. I think we should do this. Okay, so that shows that you know a wide range of vocabulary to show the same task. For example, you want to say, I propose for recommendation. Oh, no, so for suggestion, I propose, I suggest, I recommend. That will be fine. That will be good. Okay. And then the tenses it all depends on the question. You have to be very careful. Read the question carefully and see whether you're supposed to use present tense or past tense. Okay. Next. Any question regarding task?
Okay, there's a question regarding the content just now.
Okay.
Okay, most of the questions are basically on grammar actually. But that one we can't handle that many questions. Okay, there's a question here which you're going to answer afterwards, I think.
Okay,
From Lakshan Ganesan, he's asking whether can we write the article without following the sequence of the contents?
Okay. I wait until the end. I'll answer your question. Okay. Whoever that person is, ask him to wait. It will be in my slide. Okay. Next. Now, step 6. You need to understand subject matter. Subject matter means the whole content points will be related to the subject matter, and you should not change the subject matter. So for example, last year it's supposed to be about Go Green Day throughout. 2018 is about hosting a week-long visit. 2017 is regarding students' late arrival to school. 2016, it's about visiting either to a factory or to a plantation. So please do not change the subject matter. That's all I have to say regarding subject matter. Okay? All right. Next, step 7. Step 7 is regarding planning your essay. Many students always ask me this question: how long or how many paragraphs should I have? It all depends on the question. It all depends on the question. But basically, a directed writing normally is between 5 to 7 maximum. Don't write too long. You only have 45 minutes. Actually, in real life, you only have 40 minutes. 5 minutes are used. 5 minutes will be used for reading the question, planning. So, in real life, you only have 40 minutes to write your essay. Now, so how do you plan your essay? Basically, first you need your introduction. I will talk about the introduction in great detail in a while. And then your paragraphing. Your paragraphing, the easiest way to paragraph is to look at the subtopic. How many subtopics do we have? If we have 4 subtopics, most likely we might have 4 paragraph in between, and then the conclusion. So you might have 6. But some people, for example, last year, the conclusion is actually part of the subtopic. So you have maybe 5 paragraph. That's it. Another way of planning, okay, still about 5 paragraph. You can use C1 to C4 in your introduction, and then you that will be the information about the detail of the Go Green Day, and then your next paragraph, paragraph 2, will be about the topics C5 to C7. The activities, there are 4 activities, and normally students love to elaborate and develop activities. So you might want to put 2 activities in one paragraph, the other 2 activities in another paragraph. And then your conclusion, points C12 and 13, plus some final thoughts regarding the essay. So basically last year, you need about 5 paragraphs. Any question regarding paragraph? No question. Okay. Moderator, no question regarding paragraph?
Paragraphing, no.
Okay.
But the question, I think, will relate to your slides afterwards. Arisha Hanafi is asking whether is it mandatory to give the details in one sentence? What if I write the point in the first sentence and then the details in the second one?
Okay. It's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. It's up to you. You want to write C4 first? Go ahead. You want to write C2 first? Go ahead. You want to write 4 sentences for 4 different points? It's up to you. You want to combine 2 points together? It's up to you. It depends on the maturity of the writer. Okay, it depends on the maturity of the writer. All right. Next. So when you write your introduction, okay, what should you have in your introduction? A normal introduction will have 2 things. One, if it's a letter or a speech, you have your opening remarks and maybe some background information, and the most important, the purpose of your essay. The purpose of your essay. If you want to be, you want to use jargon, it will be the thesis statement. But for our level, we just say the purpose of the essay. Okay. Now, there are many ways that you can use to start your introduction. So basically, actually there are more than 6, but I like these 6. For the other writing, I think these 6 ways are relevant. First, you can start with a question, or if you want, you can ask more questions. Okay. Second, you can start with facts. If you know the facts regarding Go Green Day, maybe you say the Go Green Day is an annual event done, all over the world. It's a fact. Or you can start with a story, but I don't think it's quite relevant for this time unless you highlight a story or an event that happened during the Go Green Day that you like to start your essay. It's okay. You can also start with an interesting quote. You can start with humor, but I don't think humor will be relevant for this article. But number 6, you can start with an interesting statement. Now, some students will normally ask me, "Sir, what do you mean by interesting statement?" Interesting statement will be statement that will be relevant to the Go Green Day, which you think will be interesting for your reader. If you cannot, actually, it's already there in the question paper. Okay. Now, next. Now, how many of you have problem writing introduction? Ask them. If you have, I'll show you an easy way. If you don't have any problem writing your introduction, go ahead, start whatever way you like. Make it interesting. Make it interesting. Okay, make it interesting. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Okay, next. Now, if you have problem writing your introduction, I'll give you a simpler way, which I call the modeling method. It says here, sometimes you can use the sentences found in the question paper to help you get started. You might have to change the pronoun, add or drop certain words. So the question is, what do you change? What do you add to make the sentences yours? Right? Okay. So what do you change? Now look at the column on your left, which words come from the question, and the column on your right, what you will use to write in your essay. For example, the question says you. So when you write, you becomes I, if it's the subject, and me if it's the object. Your school. So most likely when you write, it will be our school. Write to him, well, to you. Write an article, it will be you're writing this article. Your teacher, you. Your principal, you. Okay, because you're talking to your principal and so on. If the question says write, when you write your essay, you are saying I'm writing this report, I'm writing this article, and so on. If there's another instruction, for example, suggest, so I hope you write something like this. I would like to suggest, I would like to persuade, I would like to recommend, and so on. Okay. What do you add? You can add your name, your post, your class, or your role in the school or in the writing. Who are you? Maybe you are the head prefect. Who are you? You are the president of the environment club. You can add place. You can add time. So let's see an example. Now let's look at the SPM 2019 paper again. Now when you look at this, what can you, which pronoun should you change? Which pronoun should you change? For example, the first sentence, you. So you will become I. Who are you? You can add information. Okay. In your local area, your becomes my local area. Where is it? You add information. Okay. The aim was to help people learn about the environment. Do you need to change? If you think it's okay, don't need to change. Just copy it. The next sentence, you you become I. So I have decided to write not an article, this article about the Go Green Day for not your school magazine, for our school magazine. Okay, so I'll show you an example of an introduction using the modeling method. Okay. Read. The words in red are all that I have added and changed. I added last week. Why? When it happened. So I see opportunity to add information where is necessary, and it makes my sentence longer and clearer. I change you into I. Your area, my area, and I add the name of my area, Taman Maju, more specific. Okay, so if you use this method, you will get your introduction in less than 2 minutes. Okay, that's a question, I think.
Okay,
No
it is not a question, quite a number of questions actually, but it's also a reminder. It's already 4 o'clock.
Oh, really?
Yes. Okay, but
Oh my God.
okay, there are quite a number of questions on idioms. So most of the students are asking if they use idioms, will extra marks will be given to them? That's question number 1. And another question, which is I think quite difficult for you to answer this one, for an A essay, what should the marks that they should get in order to get A?
A for SPM or A for directed writing?
That's a good question
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, all right. So before I answer all your question, let me show you another example of the same method. You use whatever is right in front of you, you change the pronoun, you add information, you will get another simple opening paragraph in less than 2 minutes. Okay, since it's already 4 o'clock, let me finish my session and then I'll answer your question. Okay. Now, step 9, once you have written your opening paragraph and hopefully it's accurate, error-free. It's accurate and error-free. And hopefully it's interesting to the reader. Follow your plan. You don't have time to redo or reorganize your plan. Second, follow the sequence of the content point so that you will not miss any points. Or if you want to jumble them up, it's up to you. But make sure you have all the content points. Okay. Next, remind yourself of the tense to be used, because the number 1 error made by most students in Malaysia is tense error. And we do not want that to happen. Number 4, please vary your sentence structures. I cannot show you how to do it now because I need another 2 hours. Okay. And then if you can, please use appropriate vocabulary relevant to the article. It's about the Go Green Day. It's about environment. So your vocabulary must show that you understand the subject matter. Use linkers. Okay, I did not even say use any idioms or whatever. It's good to have, but it's not a must. And the most important is use the right tone, which is appropriate for an article. So if you add idioms or good expression, it will be a plus point. It shows that you are not an average writer, you are above average. But hopefully the idiom or whatever expression you use is relevant to the task, relevant for your article. Don't just show us that you know idiom but it's out of context. Don't use bombastic word but it's not used in context. That's wrong. Okay. And number 10, please elaborate. And whether you like it or not, you have to elaborate. So the question is, what is elaboration and how do you elaborate? Elaboration means the inclusion of own material. So far, the format is given by the question, the audience, the content point, the task, subject matter. What is yours? Yours is the inclusion of your own idea, which is your own material, but it must be directly related to the content point. Okay. Elaboration can be a word, it can be a phrase, it can be a whole sentence. And remember, it must add a new dimension, or in other words, it must give more information. Okay. Elaboration can be anything under the sun. It can be explanation, it can be description, details, examples, suggestions, solutions, and so on. So how do you elaborate? First, look at the content point. Second, the most important part, ask relevant question about it. And normally we ask WH question. And once you ask one or two WH question and you answer your questions, you'll get elaboration. So we normally ask how and why. Sometimes we ask when, where, and what. And you can also ask why, but not more than 3 times, because you don't have much time to elaborate too long. Or my so ever favorite question, so what? So what? So I'm going to show you a few examples of elaboration. For example, another topic that was heavily stressed was ways to deal with rubbish. That is the main point. Why? Why is it so important? Rubbish that is left on the streets will eventually start to rot and decompose over time. So what? This will release a foul smell and will create an environment which is not suitable for anyone to live in. Okay. Another example, the first activity was a talk by a plant expert. What did he do? He explained to us the benefit and ways we can each do to save the world. What is it? To do so, we had to form groups and search for a collection of cards scattered throughout the forest. So what? The team who collected the most cards won a prize. Okay. Another example, there was also a treasure hunt with the clues being characteristics of different species of plants. What is so special about it? This will enable us to recognize and learn about the different plants found in the forest. How do you feel about the activity? We really had a lot of fun doing this activity. So the trick to elaborate or to provide or develop your ideas is to ask relevant question. And second last step is your last paragraph. In your last paragraph, normally you're supposed to reiterate your purpose of writing. Don't use the same paragraph in paragraph 1 and copy in the last paragraph. That's wrong. Reiterate means you write the same idea but you use different sentences. You can write your hopes, your wish, and your dream. You can also give your final thoughts about the topic. For good student, you might want to give a rhetorical question. When you give a rhetorical question, you're asking your reader to think about your topic even though after they have stopped reading the essay. And if you want, you can provide a relevant quotation or proverb or idiom to give your final paragraph impact. All right. Example. Okay. An example of the last paragraph. Because last year the conclusion include 2 points. So, but this is our last paragraph. All in all, the Go Green Day was a successful event, and all the participants gave good feedback. The best memory of the day was making a garden activity. I work with so many remarkable people who love the environment. I would definitely recommend students to join the program next year because they will get so much information and learn how to save our world. Okay, and if you are not very good in writing, I have another way of writing your concluding paragraph. It is called the generic last paragraph. So you can more or less, learn this. For example, you're writing an article. You can say, I've come to the end of my article. If a report, you can say, I've come to the end of my report. I hope you have understood what I've presented. I hope you have understood what I've shared. I hope you have understood what I've written. So for my talk, I might say, I've come to the end of my talk. all my lesson. I hope you have understood what I have presented or what I have shared. And I also hope that I've given you all the information that you need to write your directed writing. This one is more for better students. If you can, you go back to the task. For example, you say, I hope this activity will be an annual event. So that's why you like the Go Green Day and you think it should be an annual event. Okay. And lastly, boys and girls, if you have time, which I doubt it, you need to edit. But in class, you have time. Please edit your essays. First, check whether you have the format. And then check whether you have all the content points, C1 to C13. We do not want you to miss any of the content points. That will be a shame. And for language, we don't have much time, but we can still edit for spelling, especially words found in the question paper. Don't spell them wrongly. And then you can look at your preposition, especially phrasal verbs, order of words, tenses, choice of words, agreement, and punctuation. Okay. Okay. And lastly, how are you judged? Okay. I think your question will be answered when you know how you are judged. We judge you using 7 criteria. First, we look at your language accuracy, which is grammar. Second, we look at your sentence structure. Can you write a variety of sentence structure? Then we look at your vocabulary. Is your vocabulary wide and precise? And then we look at your spelling, number 4, number 5, punctuation, number 6, paragraphing, and number 7, style and tone. All right. Can you repeat the question again, Miss N?
I think that's about all. I think you've covered the idioms. The only one is that for an A essay, what should the marks be in order to get an A?
I cannot answer that, and I refuse to answer that. Okay, all right. To sum up,
yes.
Yeah. To sum up our session for today, boys and girls, this is what I've done for this session. I have taught you how to understand the question by understanding facts, format, audience, content point, task, and subject matter. I've taught you how to get marks for the format and for the content points. I taught you how to plan your essay. I taught you how to write good opening paragraph. And if you are not really good at it now, use my modeling method. Number 5, please follow instruction of the question. Number 6, whether you like it or not, you have to elaborate or develop your ideas. Number 7, please write good last paragraph. And if you really want to improve your writing, improve your grammar, learn about sentence structures, and don't use the same vocabulary you use since primary school. Improve your vocabulary at Form 5 level. Form 5 level, now, you should be able to have vocabulary if you use a CFR at B2 or C1 level. Understand? Okay, B2 or C1 level. Then you can see your marks going up, not down. God willing.
Yeah, inshallah.
All right. Okay, I think that's all for today. Before I leave, I'll leave you with these words of wisdom. Chance favors the prepared minds. If you really want your A, be prepared for it. How do you prepare? Just follow what I've taught you just now. Hopefully, when the time comes for you to produce a piece of writing, you are well prepared and you get your A for directed writing, and hopefully you get your A for SPM. So all the best in your coming SPM 2020. And this is Cikgu Anuar bin Taha from SMK Juaseh Negeri Sembilan signing off. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Anwar, for taking us through the directed writing, because he has gone through the breadth and length of thoroughly explaining how to answer the question. So once again, on behalf of Digital Classroom Malaysia, we would like to thank you, Mr. Anwar, for sharing your experiences and tips on answering questions with the students out there. Okay, I would like to share my screen now. Okay, can you see my screen? And can you see my screen, Mr. Anwar?
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right. So before we leave, you boys and girls out there, okay, we have come to end of our session. So there is one more thing to do, which is to answer some questions. We need to have some assessment of how the session went. So can you please scan the QR code, and also you can also key in to the link that is given there. So I will give you some time to do this. Right, I will come back to this slide afterwards. So before we sign off, just don't forget, same time tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Monday on the 6th of April, we will be having another class with another teacher, which is on mathematics. Okay, all right, that's all. Thank you, everyone. So Miss Anne signing off. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Okay. Boleh ya? Finish. Done. Are we done?
Yep.
Okay. I'll hang up. Bye-bye.